الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباءهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا أو آثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم 2 فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة أن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون إنهم إليهم لا يرجعون إن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم إنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم انفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون، هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون، لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون. سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون. ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن أعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون. ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق فلا يعقلون. وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إنه هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا إنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم يرى الإنسان إنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسى خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. ليس سورة الفاتحة المباركة. صلوات. बहुत गरीब है ज़ैनब कफन भी ला ना सकी। बहुत गरीब है ज़ैनब कफन भी ला ना सकी। थे मेरे हाथ बंधे थे मेरे हाथ बंधे कब्र में बना ना सकी। बहुत गरीब है ज़ैनब
کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، گلے پہ چلتا تھا جس وقت شمر کا خنجر، بہت قریب سے دیکھا تھا میں نے وہ منظر، لائیں کے ساتھ سے زلف تیری چھڑا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، کہانی سنتی تھی تم سے جو اپنے دادی کی، وہ جس کو تیرے ہی سینے پہ نیند آتی تھی، تیری یتیمہ کو تیری بہن سلا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، تماچے تیری سکینہ نے اس قدر کھائے، میں ڈر رہی تھی یہ پردیس میں نہ مر جائے، مدد کے واسطے غازی کو میں بلا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، اے بائی سامنے عابد کے میں نہیں روئی، نہ کوئی شکوہ کیا ہے لحد پہ غازی کی، میں اپنا درد تیرے سامنے چھپا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، خود اپنے اون و محمد کو میں نے بھیجا تھا، پھر ان کی یاد میں نے نہیں کیا گریا، مگر میں رخصت اکبر کبھی بلا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، تھے میرے ہاتھ بندھے، تھے میرے ہاتھ بندھے، قبر میں بنا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی، بہت غریب ہے زینب، کفن بھی لا نہ سکی. صلوات.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. زینب کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، روتی ہوئی بازار سے، روتی ہوئی بازار سے دربار میں جانا. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، حق تھا کردار دیتے مگر وہ بھی نہیں دی. دربار میں زینا کی طرح جب تو گئی تھی، افسوس تیرا رتبہ، افسوس تیرا رتبہ بھی لوگوں نے نہ جانا. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، وہ جلتے ہوئے خیمے، وہ پیاسوں کی صدائیں، خاموش پہ وہ دورے، وہ رونے پہ جفائیں. تب دست ستمگار سے، تب دست ستمگار سے وہ بچوں کو بچانا. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، پردے میں کنیزیں ہیں، سر بزم میں ہے زینب، دربار میں رو رو کے یہی کہتی ہے زینب، امت کا طریقہ سا، امت کا طریقہ سا ہے انصاف یہ نانا. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، جس بی کا سایہ بھی نہ دیکھا تھا کسی نے، وہ بھیڑ میں لوگوں کی رسن بس تا کھڑی ہے، اور کہتی ہے فضا سے، اور کہتی ہے فضا سے غازی کو بلانا. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ، آمد پہ حرم کے بھی سجائے گئے بازار، ہر گام تماشا ہی بنے نام دیوار. تب روتا تھا غربت میں، تب روتا تھا غربت میں محمد کا گھرانہ. زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ سجاد لہو روتا رہا شام میں ہر دم پردہ کا وہ غم اس پہ قیامت سے نہ تھا کم عابد کا وہ خم ہو کے عابد کا وہ خم ہو کے بازار سے جانا زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ روتی ہوئی بازار سے روتی ہوئی بازار سے دربار میں جانا زینب کی غریبی کو نہ بھولے گا زمانہ ہائے زینب ہائے زینب ہائے زینب محمد وآل محمد صلوات
پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Please recite Surah Fatiha for Marhuma Shabira bint Muhammad Ali, Marhum Murtaza Ahmad Haji Musa, who passed away in Dar es Salaam today and was buried today, and all our Marhumin Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. Before I invite the Maulana to me, can I request all the youths to please come forward, please. We are delighted to have for the first time Brother Zaki Rizvi, who has accepted our invite. Can we please invite him to the mimbar with a loud Nara Salat? Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الخلق وواقب الأمر نحمده على عظيم إحسانه ونير برهانه ونوام فضل امتنانه حمدا يكون لحقه قضاء ولشكره عدا وإلى صوابه موجبا ولحسن مزيده مقربا الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين راحة للعاشقين والمراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين والسراج السالقين نبی ہے مصباح والعلم صاحب جود والکرم واللہ حافظه وجبرائیل خادمه والبراق مركبه سدرة المنتهى مقامه كاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولاي الثقلين أبي القاسم محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على جميع أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم منكر فضائلهم غاصب حقوقهم ومراتبهم ومنزلتهم ومقامهم من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله الحكيم في قرآنه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين قوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فضل الله المجاهدين بأموالهم وأنفسهم على القاعدين درجة. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His divine words, in His divine wisdom, He tells us in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In fact, He asks a question and then answers it Himself. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا. It's a very well-known verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks, can a believer be the same as a disbeliever? Can somebody who has iman be the same as somebody who doesn't? And then he answers the question himself in the same verse. He says, La yastawun, no, they're not equal, they're not the same. Somebody who believes isn't the same as somebody who doesn't believe. If you believe, if you have iman, if you have faith, then automatically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, no, you're raised up. There's something better about you. And we see again in another place in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Again, another very famous verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He grants grace and virtue to who? To those who have the greatest taqwa, who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their taqwa. Taqwa is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, your faith, bringing you closer to your Lord. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here again is telling us, look, if you believe, if you have that faith, if you have that iman, if you have that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then all of a sudden you're raised up. You have a higher status. You're greater in stature and status than those who do not have that belief, who don't have that iman. And then we come again to another very well-known surah, very well-known verse, or well-known verses, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. Verily, man is at a loss. He's in khasara, he's at a loss, except who? Those who bring faith and do good deeds and do amal salihat. Now, I want to look at these three verses just in conjunction with each other a little bit and ask a question here. Oh Allah, for those of us who have that faith, we can see clearly by the verses that you have sent down that it raises us up, that it makes us better than others, that it makes us people of higher stature, higher status. But I have an issue with the application here, because when we come to Surah Al-Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Good deeds. So then it's not enough that we have faith, but we have to back that up with good deeds as well. We have to back that up by actually being good people as well. In fact, it's very well known for many of us that on Pul Sirat, that bridge on one side of which is heaven and underneath which is hell, that bridge which you have to cross in order to reach heaven, there's certain stations on that bridge. And in each station you'll be asked about your actions and the way you lived your life in this world. On that bridge you have a station where you'll be asked about your salah. Did you read your namaz? If you did not, you don't make it past that station. You fall from the bridge there. There's a station where you'll be asked about Sawm. Did you fast in Ramadan? Did you fast when it was wajib for you? If you did not, you'll fall from the bridge there. You won't make it to heaven. There's stages that ask you about your khums and your zakah. Did you give your dues, your sadaqah, your charity? And if you did not, you will fall there. You know what the first thing you'll be asked though is? Salah isn't the first station. No. Sawm isn't the first station. No. The very first station, you will be asked what you were like as a human being. Were you good to other people? Did you spend in the way of other people? Did you help other people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, look, before anything, good deeds have to be involved. Good deeds have to be there. It's not just enough to say, I am a believer. It's not just enough to say, I have faith. No, you have to actually back that up and show that you are a believer through your good deeds. But here's my question. And this is the bit that I have an issue with when it comes to the application. Am I a good person because I'm just a good person, or am I a good person because Islam tells me to? See, there's a difference, right? Because if we split up that verse of Surah Al-Asr, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, except those who do good deeds and have faith, or rather, have faith and do good deeds. I know loads of people who do loads of great things. I've got a friend, he's a Hindu, and he sends every month money to different families around the world who need money out of his own pocket. He set up his own charity. Is that not a good deed? Of course it is. It's a great deed. It's a great thing to do. Because of him, people are able to eat. I have friends who have no inkling of religion, but they're great people. They take care of everyone around them. They help me out when I need help. They help anybody else out when they need help. But they don't have faith. So, Ya Allah, what then is the difference between their good deeds and my good deeds? How do I tell the difference between them doing something good and me doing something good? Is there a difference? Should there be a difference? See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in this verse of Surah Al-Asr is telling us there is a difference. In all of these verses we've recited, the iman, the faith that we have is the difference. Now, oftentimes when people come on the minbar, they tend to give us a lot of stick. As Muslims, we're not doing enough. We're not good enough. You need to be better. Sometimes we need to appreciate where we are good as well, right? And in this matter, I think we are quite good. In this matter, I think we've done quite a good job because our good deeds are different to the good deeds of those who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or in a God at all. Those who do not have faith. And I'll tell you why and I'll tell you how. The difference is the reason that we do those good deeds. The reason that we avoid those bad deeds. The reason is where the difference lies. Now, if I were to sit here and tell you guys, there was this guy and he hit a child, right? He punched the child, he punched the kid. Immediately everybody would go, that's terrible. Why would he do that? Why has he hit this child? Immediately everybody would go, why on earth has he punched this child? In the face, no less. It's not a good thing to do. But then if I give you guys a little bit more context and I tell you actually the guy who did that was Prophet Musa. Now all of a sudden everybody's faces change. Now all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, well, I mean, he must have had a reason, or there must have been, there's some reasoning behind it, something we don't understand, Now all of a sudden, punching a child for my entire life has not been a good thing to do. And I don't want anyone's takeaway from this to be that that's changing now, because it still isn't. But when Nabi Musa does it, all of a sudden we're finding reasons to accept it. All of a sudden we're finding reasons to justify it. Hey, that's punching a child. Since when did that ever become good? But all of a sudden, I'm not looking at it as a bad thing anymore. I'm trying to find a reason why it's a good thing. Why? Because that's a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if he does something, it means that thing is good, regardless of whether my entire life I've been told that is a good thing or a bad thing. If he does it, it's a good thing. And we're accepting that. The fact that we're puzzled and perplexed and trying to justify it shows that because the Prophet did it, I know it must be good. I might not understand why it's good, but the Prophet did it, so it must be a good thing. Therefore, the reason that we do good deeds and the reason that we do good things is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, the reason that we do good deeds is because Allah has told us that they are good. So you know what? Let's give ourselves a little bit of praise here and understand, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says your good deeds are better than the good deeds of somebody who does not believe, when he tells you that your faith makes you better than somebody who does not have faith, there's a reason behind it. And it feels like we are reaching those higher levels, those higher statuses, those higher statures. Now, when it comes to faith, there's levels in faith as well. When it comes to belief, there's levels to that as well. You have some people with basic belief. Some people who just believe in Tawheed and Risala. They believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they believe in His prophets, and that's enough for them. And that's one level of faith. Then you have the level of faith where they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet, and their belief cannot be shaken, what you call haqqul yaqeen, absolute certainty. The whole world could stand in front of them and tell them something, they won't shake from that faith. That's a greater level of yaqeen, that's a greater level of faith. And then you have even higher levels of iman. Those who understand the teachings of the Holy Prophet, understand what he taught us, what he was telling us. That's a greater level of iman. Then you have those people who believe not only in the Holy Prophet and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, the holy family of the Prophet. They have a greater level of iman. Now see, here's where I think we could still improve. We're doing good, and we're doing good for the right reasons. We deserve praise for that. But there's still room for improvement, always room for improvement. And the place where I think we could improve is right now, we as followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam are falling into a small trap. And that trap is similar to the one we spoke about a moment ago, but just one level higher. A moment ago, we spoke about people who are doing good deeds without having faith. Right now, and we compared them to ourselves. We asked the question, how do we know whether we are people who are doing good deeds with faith on a higher level or not? Here, when it comes to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that we are following the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in our good deeds, or are we doing good deeds and also happen to be followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? Because there's a difference, right? These are two separate things. One thing to follow the examples of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and the examples they set, and another thing to just do good things because they're good, and I also happen to be a follower of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We have to make sure we don't fall into that second category. Why? Because it doesn't take someone incredible, it doesn't take someone of a higher status to recognize who the Ahlul Bayt were. Look, on the day of Ashura, and I'm not going into Masa'ib here or anything, but on the day of Ashura, the armies of Yazid saw Hazrat Ali Asghar and they cried as well. In the battle of Khaybar, the Jews of Najran, they saw Imam Ali lift the gates of Khaybar and they also went, wow, that's amazing. It doesn't take somebody incredible to see that. It doesn't take a higher status or a higher stature to see that, to be sad over their tragedies or to be impressed by their brilliance. No. So what's the difference? The difference is that we actually should be trying to recognize who they were, what they did, how they did it, why they did it, understand them and understand their lives. And that's where I feel we tend to fall short a little bit. If I ask you about the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, I'm sure everyone can tell me how they died. How many of us really know how they lived? And that's what I want to focus on today a little bit. That's where I want to go with today. I know I'm saying that we're 15 minutes into it. I won't take too much time, don't worry. That's what I want to head towards today. Understanding the life of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and in particular, that very lady whose death, whose martyrdom we're here to commemorate today. Sayyida Zaynab Ulya Khatun, salamullahi alayha, was a great lady. An incredible lady. Often we think of her and we think Ummul Masa'ib. We think of what happened in Karbala and Kufa and Sham, but Sayyida Zaynab was much more than that. She was much greater than just Karbala and Kufa and Sham. No, she was an incredible lady, the likes which we could not even understand. I want to go through a little bit today about who Sayyida Zaynab was, and I also want to focus a little bit on how we can actually learn from the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, because we tend to make this mistake in that we think of Islam and the holy personalities purely as people who lived 1400 years ago. When we imagine the lives of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, of the prophets, of the Imams, we imagine camels and deserts and sand dunes and what have you, but they lived a life which was an example for us. They were role models for me and you just as much as they were for the people of their time. So we have to try and understand, how can we actually take from their lives? How can we actually learn from their lives? Because on the face of it, their lives seem very, very different to ours. But what examples can we take from them? And that's what I want to focus on a little bit today. But first, who was Sayyida Zaynab? Who was this brilliant lady? Who was this amazing woman? This is the lady who, for herself and for all those around her, became a shining beacon. A lady who, her closest relative when she was a baby was her grandfather, Rasulullah Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And to understand what she meant to her grandfather, I'll tell you a little story. There was a time where the people of Medina, they come to our Holy Prophet and they say to him, "O Prophet of Allah, Ya Rasulullah, we recognize the brilliance of your wife, Bibi Khadija. We recognize all that she has done for Islam. We recognize all that she has done for the religion and for us as people as well. We wish to repay her in some way. So tell us, Ya Rasulullah, how can we repay Bibi Khadija? How can we repay her for all her favors upon us? For everything she's done, how can we give back to her?" Rasulullah says, "I'll give you your answer, but wait a little bit." Our Imams and the Prophets, they tended to do this quite often. He says, "I'll give you your answer, but wait a little bit." A few days go past, a few weeks go past. They come back, Ya Rasulullah, that question, it hasn't been answered yet. He says, wait. Months go past, Ya Rasulullah, wait. Years go past, Ya Rasulullah, wait. Till the day comes where Amir al-Mu'mineen is granted the greatest blessing a father could get. Beaming smiles all over the house of Zahra. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he comes home and his wife is holding a beautiful baby girl, smiling, happy, incredible. Everyone joyous. It's a great occasion. Amir al-Mu'mineen takes this beautiful little girl in his arms. He holds her. Rasulullah himself comes to the house of Zahra and Ali. He comes, he congratulates Imam Ali. He hugs him, he holds him. Rasulullah is smiling. He's had a grandchild. He's happy. Sayyidah Zahra smiling. Imam Ali smiling. Rasulullah says, bring me my granddaughter. Bibi Zaynab is handed to Rasulullah. Rasulullah takes this little girl in his arms. He holds her, looks down, beaming with happiness and pride, smiling down at his granddaughter, and he says, هَذِهِ مِثْلِ Khadija. He says, this girl is the example of Khadija, that wife who was so dear to the Prophet, that wife who was the greatest wife of the Prophet, that wife without whom Islam would never have reached the heights it reached in its early days. That is who Bibi Khadija was. Rasulullah says, this is the example of Khadija. This girl is like Khadija. He goes back to those Muslims who asked him, how do we repay Khadija? He says, you want to repay Khadija? This daughter that has been born in the house of Zahra and Ali, do right by her. Do good by that daughter and you will repay Khadija. Now to repay Bibi Khadija, if I wanted to try and explain to you the favors of Bibi Khadija upon our religion, I could not do it. Just know this much, if it were not for the wealth of Bibi Khadija, our religion would never have been able to survive the persecution of the early days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted the protection of our religion in the wealth of Bibi Khadija. And in the same way, when Rasulullah says, هَذِهِ مِثْلِ Khadija, he says this, my heart tells me, for more than one reason. One, because of the love he has for this young girl, but also because he knows in one place Khadija's wealth saved Islam, in another Zaynab's resolve saved Islam. The way Khadija saved Islam at one point, Zaynab too will in the future. Rasulullah tells the people, you want to repay Bibi Khadija? Do right by Zaynab. Recite aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Wajil farajahum. And then we come on to Amir al-Mu'mineen. The relationship of Sayyidah Zaynab with her father. Beautiful. In her name, Zaynab, the zina, the beauty of her father. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was so proud of his daughter. He had such love for his daughter. So much so that at every point when he advises his sons, at every difficulty in the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he calls his sons forward and he gives them some kind of advice, some kind of wasiyah, some kind of nasiha. And in every nasiha and wasiyah, what does he say? He says, make sure you take care of your sister. Abbas, make sure you take care of Lady Zaynab. Hassan, Hussein, make sure you take care of your sister Zaynab. Again and again repeating it. But you know what I found to be the most beautiful fadail, the most beautiful virtue of Sayyidah Zaynab in relation to her father? During the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he saw many difficulties, especially during the time of the Umayyad dynasty. Now when the Umayyad dynasty started persecuting my Imam, it got to a point where even saying the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen, saying the name Ali ibn Abi Talib was restricted. You were not allowed to or you would be punished. So the lovers of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the believers and the followers, the Shia, what would they call him instead? Instead of referring to Imam Ali alayhi salam by his name because they knew they would be punished and persecuted for it, instead they would refer to him as the father of Zaynab. This is who Sayyidah Zaynab was. Imam Ali is the father of Imams Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam, but when they refer to him, when they want to be discreet and refer to their Mawla, to their Lord, they refer to him as the father of Zaynab. They know the love that Amir al-Mu'mineen has for this daughter. They know the place that she holds in his heart. And this shows the status of Sayyidah Zaynab as well. She wasn't just for Karbala, Kufa and Sham. I promise you that much. Amir al-Mu'mineen was referred to as the father of Zaynab. And then we come on to her mother, Sayyidah Zahra, salamullahi alayha. Now, Sayyidah Zahra, the complete woman, the perfect woman, Sayyidat al-Nisa al-Alameen, the leader for all the ladies of all the worlds, all the Alameen, a perfect role model for us. the best role model for women, particularly for women. She is a role model of how to be a perfect daughter, how to be a perfect mother, how to be a perfect wife, how to be a perfect woman in her own right. But there's one thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His divine wisdom, one role that He did not ask Sayyidah Zahra to model, and what was that? How to be the perfect sister. Bibi Zaynab was given that role to model. Almost as if to say, Zaynab, if Fatima is the complete woman, the perfect woman, then Zaynab is the completion of the message of Zahra. Zaynab is the one who completes the teachings of Zahra. Sayyidah Zahra teaches us all these roles. The one remaining is granted to Sayyidah Zaynab. So much so that Sayyidah Zahra, one of her titles is Sirrun min Asrar Allah, the secrets from amongst the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a lot of mystery around that, a lot of smoke around that. It's incredible. I love it. One of the secrets amongst the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's Sayyidah Zahra. And at every point, Sayyidah Zahra calls her daughter Zaynab forward and tells her, Zaynab, let me tell you the things that I have been told. Zaynab, let me teach you what I have been taught. Let me give you those secrets which I do not tell anybody else. We often, I'm not going into Masa'ib, but we often hear that in the Masa'ib of Sayyidah Zahra, Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he's giving ghusl to Sayyidah Zahra, afterwards he comes to Sayyidah Zaynab and he asks her what? Did you know that Zahra's rib was broken? Why does Amir al-Mu'mineen go to Zaynab and ask this? Why would he go to his daughter? Because he knows the secrets from amongst the secrets of Allah, confides her secrets in Sayyidah Zaynab. That's who Sayyidah Zaynab is. Recite another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then we come to her relationship with her brothers. Imams Hassan and Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, alayhim wassalam. Bibi Zaynab, look, she lived in the same house. She was going to spend time with them. It's obvious. It's normal. That's nothing impressive. That's nothing incredible. But what I find incredible, what I found so impressive, so amazing, was what she used to do when she spent time with them. If any of you have sisters, I'm sure many of you do, you guys will know what they're like. They don't like leaving their brother's side. They like to stay with their brothers. They like to be involved with what their brothers are doing. Sayyidah Zaynab was the same with her brothers. She would be involved with them. She would be around them all the time. Now, Imam Hassan Hussein, they would spend a lot of time in discussion, but intelligent discussion. They would spend a lot of time speaking about the hadith of their grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. They spend a lot of time talking about his hadith, what it meant, how he said it, when he said it, why he said it, what we can learn from it, what we can take from it. What today we know as ilm al-rijal, the study of ahadith. Imam Hassan Hussein used to engage in this a lot. And with them, Sayyidah Zaynab would be sat there. Now, for her to be sat there wouldn't be anything impressive. Why? Because she lived there. She's going to be sitting with them at some point, right? She's going to be somewhere in the house. Why not be with her brothers? What's impressive is that she didn't just sit there. She used to engage in these discussions. She wasn't just sitting there learning from them. No, she was offering her opinion. She was offering her perspective. Now, if we were sat together talking about ilm al-rijal, talking about a hadith, and you guys were offering your opinions, that's nothing impressive. That's nothing particular. Why? Because we're all sitting there, we're having a discussion. Here's the difference though. Bibi Zaynab is not just sat with her brothers. No, she sat with two imams. And two imams are sat there, not just talking about it in front of her, no, engaging in discussion with her, understanding from her, taking her perspective, and not only taking it, but taking it on and respecting it as well. That tells you the knowledge of Sayyidah Zaynab. None of us can sit with an imam. Forget an imam. How many of us have ever sat with an alim? Sit with an alim and listen to him talk. You'll sit there and think, I can't say anything if you really listen. You'll sit there and think, I can't say anything in this moment because this man, what he's speaking about, what he's telling me, this is absolute knowledge. Knowledge that I don't have. Knowledge that's a greater level of what I have. Sayyidah Zaynab sits with two imams and engages in that discussion. So then it is no secret that it's no secret why when Imam Hussein alayhi salam, after the passing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was not around for whatever reason, if he was not available for any reason, who did the people go to for answers to their questions? They didn't go to Abu al-Fadl Abbas, no. They didn't go to Muslim ibn Aqil, no. They didn't go to Hazrat Jafar al-Tayyar, no. They didn't go to anybody else. They didn't go to Hazrat Abdullah, no. They went directly to Sayyidah Zaynab salamullahi alayha. The first marja we've ever seen. The first marja we see is Sayyidah Zaynab, the representative of her Imam. But here's the thing. We've never seen this before where the representative of the Imam was another woman. Even in the life of Sayyidah Zahra, the representative when Imam Ali was not there was Imam Hassan alayhi salam. When Imam Hassan was there, the representative was Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But in the life of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the representative became Sayyidah Zaynab. That tells you the status of this great lady. So much so, the respect that we should be offering her. We often hear that when Sayyidah Zahra walked into a room, her father Rasulullah would stand up from his place, qama ilayya, he would stand up and go towards her. In the same way we see Imam Hussein does this for Sayyidah Zaynab. In the same way we see that when Sayyidah Zaynab walks into a room, Imam Hussein alayhi salam stands up. So much so that we have one narration, Imam Hussein alayhi salam is reciting the Holy Quran, the divine words from Allah, in the beautiful voice of Al-Hussein. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening, Hussein is reciting, Zaynab walks in, my Imam Hussein stops reciting out of respect for Sayyidah Zaynab, stands up from his place. Now for an Imam to do anything is an authority upon us. For a prophet to do anything is an authority upon us. For Sayyidah Zahra to do anything is an authority upon us. They are guides for us. Everything they do is a hadith. Everything they say is a hadith. Now these are the people responsible for raising Sayyidah Zaynab. These are the people who molded her into the woman she was. Everything she learned from either Rasulullah, Imam Ali, Sayyidah Zahra, or Imam Hassan and Hussein. Everything that she is from them. So it would not be wrong if I say what they tell us and what they give us is a hadith. But Sayyidah Zaynab is the embodiment of a hadith itself. Sayyidah Zaynab is the one who shows us what the culmination of all the hadith, all the teachings of the holy prophets and the holy family are. She is the embodiment of all of that. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And now, when we look at the life of Sayyidah Zaynab, we realize, okay, she was amazing. She was incredible. We can see it in all of these different factors, in all of these different things. We can see how brilliant Sayyidah Zaynab salamullahi alayha was. But Sayyidah Zaynab Ulya Khatun was a role model for us as well. So how do we learn from her? Oftentimes when we think about learning from the life of Sayyidah Zaynab, you'll hear about sabr, you'll hear about patience. And that's normal, you'll hear about that a lot. But that's not the angle I'm taking today, because you will either have heard it before or you will hear it at some point. I'm going to look at it from a different direction. Sayyidah Zaynab, particularly after Karbala, she had a mission. She had something that she set out to do. And that was what? Complete the mission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein, when he leaves Medina, he says that he is leaving for Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, to encourage good and discourage evil. Sayyidah Zaynab decides that this is her mission from this day onwards. This is her absolute mission in life. Now, the thing that we learn here is that when obstacles come our way, which they will in life, when things get difficult, we shouldn't give up. The power and the strength in hard work and struggle is unmatched. I come back to the verse that I started this whole thing off with, the whole majlis I started off with. In the khutbah, I rounded off the khutbah with a verse of the Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ عَلَى الْقَائِدِينَ دَرَجَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He grants virtue to those who work hard, who struggle, who strive with what? بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ, with their resource, with their wealth, and with themselves. عَلَى الْقَائِدِينَ دَرَجَةً, to the highest of ranks, more so than all those who don't. The value of hard work we learn from Sayyidah Zaynab, because her life was not easy. And again, I'm not going into Masa'ib just yet. But what happened after they were released from prison, the women and children? There was the option that the women and children would stay in Sham. Yazid realized if she stays, Sham being the capital city of Yazid at the time, he realized if she stays here, she's going to keep telling people what I did. She's going to keep telling people about this battle of right and wrong. And Yazid knew which side he was on. He knew he was on the side of wrong. So he decides, you know what? Sayyidah Zaynab can't stay in Sham. Make sure she leaves. So she is taken away. She goes back to Medina. The governor of Medina, he writes to Yazid. He says, here, she keeps telling everyone what happened. They're all turned against you. They're going to turn against me soon as well. So Yazid writes to him. He says, look, send her out of Medina. This is one of the reasons that to this day, we don't know for certain where Sayyidah Zaynab is buried. The two main points where we think she is buried is, one is in Cairo in Egypt and one is in Sham in Syria. One of the reasons we don't know where exactly Sayyidah Zaynab was buried is because she kept getting moved from city to city, country to country. Why? Because she refused to stop telling people about Karbala, about right and wrong. Every time she would move somewhere, she would start teaching the people around her. They would start learning from her. The people in power there would become worried. They would say to her, you cannot stay here. You must move on. You must leave. To the point where Sayyidah Zaynab eventually, she left this world in a land that wasn't her own. Sayyidah Zaynab eventually, she left this world, but till her dying breath, Sayyidah Zaynab never stopped on that mission. And the reason I picked on this particular point, this hard work, this struggle, this strive, is because I'm seeing it less and less. A lot of what I do in the community is working with young people. And I see again and again, trying to achieve something or wanting to achieve something, which is brilliant. You should have ambitions, but not wanting to put in the hard work to actually get there. In fact, it's one of the best definitions or points I've heard in a lecture, one that sometimes you're listening to a lecture and something just sticks with you, right? The speaker was talking about symptoms of jahiliyyah, of ignorance, of idiocy, of stupidity. And he said, one of them is that you want a certain status, but you're not willing to work for it. You want to be the smartest in the room, but you're not willing to study at all. You want to be the most successful, but you're not willing to put in the hard work and the hard hours that you need to. Look, you have to put in the hard work as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, He tells us in the Holy Quran, فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ. He rewards those who do good, who work hard. He will raise you up. Just put in the effort, put in the hard work. And look, I'm not saying that hard work is the only thing it takes. No, other things have to go your way as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, تِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. He gives the good days and the bad days to people. He alternates them. So some days you'll have good days. There'll be times where you're having great times, you're successful, everything's brilliant. There'll be times where things are tough, where things are difficult. That's where this struggle and this strife really comes into action. The best businesses go through hurdles. If you go look at any footballer, for some reason, they all have some amazing sob stories. I had to leave my family and travel 150 miles to go to this trial. I used to play without boots on my feet. My dad used to play with me until late at night when he'd come back from work, and they all have some incredible sob story. But you know what? That's not a sob story. That's the thing that made them learn the value of hard work. That's the thing that made them realize the value of actually trying and putting in effort for something. So many of us want something incredible, and we should. You want to be the smartest in the room? Absolutely. That's a brilliant ambition. You want to be successful in life and in business? Brilliant. Do it. It's an incredible ambition. Whatever your ambitions are, have them. You should. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, أَفْمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا, a believer is not the same as a disbeliever, that also means in life as well. That also means that in life you should be ahead of everybody at anything you try. But the difference is you've got to try. You won't wake up one morning with a pot of gold on your doorstep. Believe me, I've hoped and prayed for it, but it doesn't happen. You won't wake up one morning and just have all the knowledge you're looking for in your head. You have to work towards it. You have to try for it. You have to make it happen. And when you do, you'll realize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, wherever He says what the value of hard work is, it really does come with rewards. It really does come with success. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The mu'min, the believer, is the one who is successful. You want that success? Look at the life of Sayyidah Zaynab and use her as an inspiration to work hard, to try hard. When things get tough, keep going. When things are easy, carry on putting in that effort, because that's what will get you that success. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I see it often. I work with a lot of young people in the work I do in the community. And the number of times I couldn't tell you where these kids have told me, yeah, I really want to be like you, and you were like this and this, so I have to do this. I'm like, Baba, you're 15, I'm almost 10 years older than you. Like, relax a little bit. You've got to go through the stages of life. There's no shortcut to success. You've got to make it happen. You've got to work towards it. Put a plan in place, figure it out. But make sure you're working hard. And Sayyidah Zaynab, she really did. When we talk about the hurdles that come before you, nobody had hurdles like Sayyidah Zaynab. Nobody struggled in life the way Sayyidah Zaynab Ulya Khatun struggled. Nobody saw pain in life the way Sayyidah Zaynab Ulya Khatun saw pain in life. When preparing for the Messiah of the Shahadat of Sayyidah Zaynab, it's one of the most difficult musibahs, one of the most difficult tragedies to speak on. Because I don't know what to recite. I don't know what to speak about. I don't know which part of her life, which tragedy, which musibah to speak on. Do I speak of the time where Sayyida Zaynab, as a young girl, looks over at her mother and sees her mother Zahra crying, only to look over back at her daughter and say, Zaynab, your grandfather Rasulullah has left us. Zaynab begins weeping and crying. She cannot contain her tears. Why? Because Zaynab loved her grandfather and he loved her so. Or do I tell you about the time just a few days after that, where Sayyida Zaynab is called into the room of Sayyida Zahra. Zahra has become very weak. She calls her daughter over. She says, Zaynab, over in the corner of the room, there's a small box. Bring me that box. When Zaynab brings that box to her mother, aged only 6 or 7 at the time, Sayyida Zaynab, she sees what is in this box. Sayyida Zaynab pulls out a white cloth and she says to her, Zaynab, my darling, there's not long left. Your mother is leaving this world. Soon you will be alone, Zaynab. When your father Ali is alone and he needs his Zahra, Zaynab, I need you to step up and hand him this kafan. Or do I tell you about the time where Zaynab is sat in her house? She turns round and she calls out, Abbas, Abbas, quickly go to Masjid Kufa. I can hear chaos coming from the mosque. Go see what has happened to my father. The time where Ali says to Hassan and Hussein, look, from here to the house, let me walk on my own 2 feet. They say to him, Father, you do not have the strength. Amirul Mu'mineen says, I will find the strength, but I cannot let Zaynab see her father in this state. Or do I tell you about the time where Zaynab sits on the floor in the courtyard of her house? Sitting in front of her is her brother Hussein. Between them is the body of her brother Hassan, as one by one they pull arrows from the lifeless body of their brother. Which tragedy do I tell you about in the life of Zaynab? Or do I tell you about the time where Zaynab stands alongside her brother Hussein, watching out as 2 young princes ride out towards the armies in Karbala? Aun and Muhammad, they battle through the armies, so much so to the point where they reach the river Furat. These 2 young princes look down at the water, they look to each other and they say, remember, our mother has told us, until Sakina is thirsty, the daughters of Zaynab must not, the sons of Zaynab must not drink water. To the point where one brother loses his life in the battle, the other still has some life left in him. He falls to the ground, he calls out to his uncle Hussein. Imam Hussein rushes over with Abul Fadl Abbas. The young boy looks at his uncle, he says to him, my uncle Hussein, will you do one thing for me? Imam Hussein says, tell me, what can I do for you? Tell me what you need. The young boy looks up at his uncle, he says, tell our mother that we reached the Furat, but we remembered what she said. Let our mother be proud of us when she hears of our sacrifice. Imam Hussein and Abul Fadl Abbas, they bring the bodies of these 2 boys back to the tents. They lay them down in front of the tents. The women and children gather round. Sakina over one, Baqir over the other, Imam Zainul Abidin in tears, Farwa and Kubra and Layla and Rabab all in tears. Imam Hussein looks around, looking between the women, scanning through. At one point, perplexed, he turns around. He calls out to his sister Bibi Kulthum, Kulthum, tell me, where is my Zaynab? Go and call her. Sayyida Zaynab comes forward. She approaches her brother. Imam Hussein says, Zaynab, look, your sacrifice is returned. Zaynab, here, cry over your 2 sons. Sayyida Zaynab says, Hussein, I gave these 2 as sadaqah for the religion of Islam. When Zaynab gives, she does not take back now. Zaynab will not cry over her aunt and Muhammad. The 11th of Muharram comes. Sayyida Zaynab stands there looking over the battlefield. She looks over at the battlefield, tears flowing from her eyes, but she won't look towards aunt and Muhammad. Through the streets of Kufa, Sayyida Zaynab is accompanied by all the heads on the spears. When she looks to the sky, she looks at the head of Hussein. She looks at the head of Abbas. She will look up and cry about Akbar, but Zaynab Zaynab does not look towards the heads of Anna Muhammad. The time comes where Sayyidah Zaynab is released from prison. When she's released from prison, the women and children are given a house on the demand of Sayyidah Zaynab, where they are allowed to cry over their loved ones. Sayyidah Zaynab sits there. The women all sat there. Sayyidah Zaynab begins reciting the majlis, reciting the musibah. At one point, everybody falls silent as the heads of the shuhada begin to be brought in. Plates on crates and trays. Now, as they come in one by one, the women begin to cry, and one by one, the women will step forward and take the heads of their loved ones. We see when Akbar's head is brought in, Layla rushes forward. When Abbas his head is brought in, Bibi Kulsum rushes forward. When Asghar's little body is brought forward, Rabab rushes forward. But when Anna Muhammad are brought in, nobody steps forward. Somebody asks, maybe the mother of these children has died along the way. Maybe they have nobody left. Sayyidah Zaynab immediately looks up. She says, don't you dare. The mother of these children is alive and well. But like I said on Ashura, when Zaynab gives something, she does not take it back. Still, Zaynab does not cry over her Anna Muhammad. Bibi Fidda steps forward. She takes these two princes' shining faces, holds them close to her chest. The women and children move on from Sham. Zaynab bids farewell to Sakina. They carry on to Karbala. Zaynab goes to the grave of Abbas. She says, Abbas, after you, they stole our chadr. They hit us with whips and chains. They imprisoned us. They called us criminals. They move on from Karbala. Zaynab still has not said anything about Anna Muhammad. She goes to Medina. As she arrives in Medina, the first place she goes is the grave of Rasulullah. She goes to visit her grandfather. My heart tells me she must have remembered how she used to go to the grave of Rasulullah when she was a young girl. How did she go back then? When she was a young girl, if Zaynab wished to go to the grave of her grandfather, before her, Hassan and Hussein would go. They would clear out the masjid. They would remove all the people. Then they would dim the lights. They would turn out the lights. Why? The daughter of Zahra and Ali is coming into this place. The daughter of Zahra and Ali is entering the Haram. Zaynab would go in perfect, peaceful serenity. She would sit by her grandfather's grave. This time when Zaynab arrives at the grave of Rasulullah, bruises on her arms, scars on her wrists, her hair turned grey, her eyes sunken. She cries to Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, I watched them plunge a spear into the chest of Akbar. They cut the arms of Abbas, thrust an arrow into his eye. They fired a three-pronged arrow at Asghar. They sat on my Hussein's back, held him by the beard as they chopped his head off. But still, Zaynab does not mention Anna Muhammad. She then goes to the house of Hussein, her brother. She stays there crying and weeping. At one point, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far Tayyar, the husband of Bibi Zaynab, 3 days later, he sends someone to bring Sayyidah Zaynab back home. Sayyidah Zaynab returns to the house, but as she returns, her pace gets slower and slower. The closer she gets to the house, the more she slows down. As she enters the house, Sayyidah Zaynab, her jaw clenched, choking back her tears, she walks into the house. She looks into a room, stands by the door. She sees two small musallas laid out on the floor, two small prayer mats. Here, Zaynab stumbles to the ground. She takes those two musallas in her hands. She turns towards Karbala. She calls out, Hussein, I did not cry in Karbala. I did not cry in Kufa nor Sham. I did not cry at the grave of my grandfather. But Hussein, Zaynab is a mother. Today let me cry over my two children. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We raise our hands in dua and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, oh Allah, allow us all to remain steadfast on your religion. Oh Allah, For all those mu'mineen around the world suffering from ill health, grant them complete shifa. O Allah, for all those of our loved ones who have left this world, raise their ranks in Jannah. O Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Allow us to enter Jannah under his banner. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع الدعاء. ما say.
الوداع 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 بہن زینب الوداع بہن زینب الوداع بہن زینب زینب حزین من زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم از حیات بیزارم از حیات بیزارم خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا اے میری بہن زینب گھر تیرے حوالے ہے اے میری بہن زینب گھر تیرے حوالے ہے جو لائے کے سجدہ ہے سر اس کے حوالے ہے جو لائے کے سجدہ ہے سر اس کے کو ہے خنجر بس چلنے کو ہے خنجر خواہرا خدا حافظ من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم از حیات بیزارم از حیات بیزارم خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من خواہرا کہنا میرے نانا سے گھر بار لٹایا ہے کہنا میرے نانا سے گھر بار لٹایا ہے اس طرح نواسے نے وعدے کو نبھایا ہے اس طرح نواسے نے وعدے کو نبھایا ہے سر ہے میرا نیزے پر سر ہے میرا نیزے پر خواہرا خدا حافظ من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم از حیات بیزارم از حیات بیزارم خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من زینب حزین تم بعد میرے زینب مشکل سے نہ گھبرانا تم بعد میرے زینب مشکل سے نہ گھبرانا عباس سے جری بن کر ہر ظلم سے ٹکرانا عباس سے جری بن کر ہر ظلم سے ٹکرانا ای جان و دل حیدر ای جان و دل حیدر خواہرا خدا حافظ من کبھی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم من کبھی علم دارم از حیات بیزارم از حیات بیزارم خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من زینب حزین من خواہرا خدا حافظ زینب حزین من خواہرا زینب میری بیٹی کو ہر غم سے بچا لینا، زینب میری بیٹی کو ہر غم سے بچا لینا، جب روئے سکینہ تو گودی میں سلا لینا، جب روئے سکینہ تو گودی میں سلا لینا، کم سن ہے میری دختر، کم سن ہے میری دختر، خواہرہ خدا حافظ، میں نے کھبی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم، میں نے کھبی علم دارم بے معین و بے یارم، از حیات بیزارم، از حیات بیزارم، خواہرہ خدا حافظ، زینب حزین من، زینب حزین من، خواہرہ خدا حافظ، زینب حزین من، زینب حزین من، خواہرہ خدا حافظ، وداع الوداع الوداع الوداع، خواہرہ خدا حافظ، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین۔
زیارت الحمام۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ السلام علیک یا رسول اللہ، السلام علیک یا نبی اللہ، السلام علیک یا حبیب اللہ، السلام علیک یا امیر المؤمنین، السلام علیک یا فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین، السلام علیک یا ابا محمد الحسن، السلام علیک یا ابا عبد اللہ، السلام علیکم یا آل اللہ، السلام علیکم یا صفوت اللہ، السلام علیکم یا خیرۃ اللہ من خلقہ، السلام علیکم یا سادۃ السادات، السلام علیکم یا لیوث الغباب، السلام علیکم یا سفن النجاح، السلام علیک یا ابا عبد اللہ الحسین، السلام علیک یا وارث علم الانبیاء ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علیک یا وارث آدم صفوت اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث نوح نبی اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث ابراہیم خلیل اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث اسماعیل ذبیح اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث موسیٰ کلیم اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث عیسیٰ روح اللہ، السلام علیک یا وارث محمد حبیب اللہ، السلام علیک یا ابن محمد المصطفیٰ، السلام علیک یا ابن علی المرتضیٰ، السلام علیک یا ابن فاطمة الزہراء، السلام علیک یا ابن خدیجة الکبریٰ، السلام علیک یا شہید ابن الشہید، السلام علیک یا قتیل ابن القتیل، السلام علیک یا ولی اللہ وابن ولیہ، السلام علیہ وابن حجتہ علی خلقہ، اشہد انک قد اقمت الصلاۃ وآتیت الزکاۃ وامرت بالمعروف ونہیت عن المنکر ورزقت بوالدیک وجاہدت عدوک، واشہد انک تسمع الکلام وترد الجواب، وأنك حبيب الله وخليله ونجيبه وصفيه وابن صفيه، يا مولاي وابن مولاي، زرتك مشتاقا فكن لي شفيعا إلى الله يا سيدي، واستشهد سيد النبيين وبأبيك سيد الوصيين وبأمك فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، ألا لعن الله قاتليك ولعن الله ظالميك ولعن الله سالبيك ومغضيك من الأولين والآخرين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. السلام عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي، لعن الله قاتليك ولعن الله ظالميك. إني أتقرب إلى الله بزيارتكم وبمحبتكم وأبرأ إلى الله من أعدائكم. والسلام عليك يا مولاي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الأرواح المنيخة بقبر أبي عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليكم يا طاهر ابن من الدنس. السلام عليكم يا مهديون. السلام عليكم يا أبرار الله. السلام عليكم وعلى الملائكة الحافين بقبركم أجمعين. جمعنا الله وإياكم في مستقر رحمته وتحت عرشه إنه أرحم الراحمين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيادة والفضل لباس عليه السلام. سلام الله وسلام ملائكته المقربين وأنبيائه المرسلين وعباده الصالحين وجميع الشهداء والصديقين والزاكيات الطيبات فيما تغتدي في وتروح عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. أشهد أنك بالتسليم والتصديق والوفاء والنصيحة لخلف النبي صلى الله عليه وآله المرسل والسبت المنتجب والدليل العالم والمسي المبلغ والمظلوم المهتضم. وجزاك الله عن رسوله وعن أمير المؤمنين وعن الحسن والحسين صلوات الله عليهم أفضل الجزاء بما صبرت واحتسبت وعنت فنعم عقبى الدار. لعن الله من قتلك ولعن الله من جهل حقك واستخف بحرمتك، ولعن الله من حال بينك وبين ماء الفرات. أشهد أنك قتلت مظلوما وأن الله منجز لكم ما وعدكم. جئتك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وافدا إليكم وقلبي مسلم لكم وتابع، وأنا لكم تابع ونصرتي لكم معدة حتى يحكم الله وهو خير الحاكمين. فمعكم لا مع عدوكم، إني بكم وبإيابكم من المؤمنين وبمن خالفكم وقتلكم من الكافرين. قتل الله أمة قتلتكم بالأيدي والألسن. السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله ولأمير المؤمنين والحسن والحسين صلى الله عليهم وسلم. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته ومغفرته ورضوانه وعلى روحك وبدنك. أشهد وأشهد الله أنك مضيت على ما مضى به البدريون والمجاهدون في سبيل الله المناصحون له في جهاد أعدائه المبالغون في نصرة أوليائه الذابون عن أحبائي. فجزاك الله أفضل الجزاء وأكثر الجزاء وأوفر الجزاء وأوفى جزاء أحد ممن وفى ببيعتي واستجاب له دعوته وعطاء ولاة أمره. أشهد أنك قد بالغت في النصيحة وأعطيت غاية المجهود، فبعثك الله في الشهداء وجعل روحك مع أرواح السعداء وأعطاك من جنانه أفسح منزلا وأفضلها غرفا، ورفع ذكرك في عليين وحشرك مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. أشهد أنك لم تهن ولم تنكل، وأنك مضيت على بصيرة من أمرك مقتديا بالصالحين ومتبعا للنبيين فجمع الله بيننا وبينك وبين رسوله وأوليائه في منازل المقبتين فإنه أرحم الراحمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وبركاته. السلام عليكم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة. السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى وارث أمير المؤمنين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وقاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن عقيل وهاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مطاهر وهر الشهيد الرياعي. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن. السلام عليك يا إمام يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك حجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه الزكاة وتمتعه فيها طويلا.
إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات